On October 4, 1957, the Soviet Union launches Sputnik 1, the world's first human-made object to orbit the Earth, marking the beginning of the Cold War's space race. The name Sputnik is simply the Russian word for satellite and literally means fellow traveler. It was rather small, measuring just 22 inches in diameter and weighing only 184 pounds. Traveling at 18,000 miles per hour, the satellite circled the Earth once every 36 minutes. Sputnik sent beeps back to Earth via radio transmission, which were strong enough to be picked up by amateur receivers. It could also be seen from Earth with binoculars just before sunrise and just after sunset, while the observer was in darkness and the polished aluminum satellite was illuminated by the sun. Most reported sightings were actually of the booster rocket that had propelled Sputnik into orbit, which was 85 feet long and much easier to see compared to the relatively tiny satellite. Sputnik transmitted its signal for 22 days until its batteries died. The satellite continued to orbit the Earth for a total of 3 months, when its speed slowed to the point that it burned up in the atmosphere. In those 3 months, Sputnik completed approximately 1,440 rotations. The US was caught off guard by the Soviet technological achievement and began working to catch up. To that end, President Dwight D. Eisenhower established NASA in 1958. However, the Russians beat the US to every major milestone in those early years. It was not until the Apollo program in the late 1960s that the US would overtake the Soviets in the space race by orbiting the moon with a manned spacecraft in Apollo 8 and by landing Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the moon in Apollo 11. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1582, the Julian calendar's last day occurs as much of Europe switches to the Gregorian calendar. In 1669, Dutch Golden Age painter Rembrandt van Rijn dies in Amsterdam at age 63. In 1927, work begins on the 12-year project to create Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. In 1965, Paul VI arrives in New York City for the first visit by a reigning pope to the US. In 1970, rock legend Janis Joplin dies of a heroin overdose in Los Angeles at age 27. In 1992, a cargo plane crashes into an apartment building in Amsterdam, killing more than 100. In 2022, Yankees outfielder Aaron Judge hits homer number 62, breaking Maris's AL record. And now it's time for our Today in History quiz. The world's first great encyclopedia was published in the mid-18th century in which country? France, Italy, Germany, or the Netherlands? Think you know the answer? Drop your guesses in the comments below. Find out if you're right next time on Today in History. You made it through Today in History. Nice work. Now treat yourself. Click the video on the right for what happened yesterday in history. Still can't get enough? The link on the left's got the whole playlist buffet. Want to make history a daily habit? Click my face in the middle to subscribe.